And I hit the record button, so I think that we are doing okay. So, for those of you I have not met before, I am Becca Harat-Weigel, and I'll answer a couple of questions I think with my introduction. So the first one is, did I go to boot camp? And the answer is yes. I taught college English for 10 years part-time, and then I did Flatiron School boot camp, which I would 100% recommend. I really thought they did great at building community and presenting a solid curriculum. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I have 4 kids, so I started learning to code when the youngest was about a year old, and the oldest was 8. And so now I have a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And I started working as a freelance developer in July, which has been the most amazing job that I could have asked for. I work part-time, which is what I wanted, and it's a flexible schedule, which is also something that I really wanted, and it's got great mentorship. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. I'll let you ask questions first if you want to, or there's some other questions that I got from Twitter and some DMs. So if there's anything specific you want to ask, feel free.
I do have a burning question for you. And first, I'm Anna, and I'm currently at Flatiron in a boot camp. So I love hearing success stories. So first of all, great to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
To hear your story, a little bit of it. But I think being 2 months in and still being such a new newbie, always my question comes back down to, but how on earth will I be ready once I'm done with boot camp? Because I feel like we're only scratching the surface. Like there's just no way in 5 months that you could learn all there is to learn, which I know isn't the point, but we're learning enough to get a good intro. But at the end of your boot camp, like how did you feel readiness wise, and how did that prepare you for what you're doing now? And
yeah, so that's a really good question, and I felt 0% ready. But I think that's kind of a natural state of being, and it also depends on like your confidence level. So generally speaking, when I am getting into something new, my confidence level is really low. So I thought, I'm never going to get a job, or maybe I'll get something that's tech adjacent or like coding adjacent, not like really coding every single day, just because I felt like I couldn't do it. And then my husband is a developer, and he was like, you just have to apply for jobs. And like, I don't even know if I applied for any jobs, to be honest with you. My story is not the typical one, but I knew what I wanted, and I thought, okay, well, it's not going to hurt to put myself out there. And I think Flatiron Career Prep does a really excellent job of making you go through all of the steps of networking and marketing yourself, but also they have the mock interview. They do 2, so you do kind of a non-technical one, and then you do the technical one through, I can't remember. There's an organization that runs that, and I didn't do the mock technical one because I had gotten a job by the time I went to go book one. But I think that it's super beneficial to be able to do that. I felt like I would not be able to go through a technical interview. I feel now, after 6 months on the job, that I would be confident enough to at least try it. But I think that, when you're a new developer, almost everybody that's coming into the job market, they don't know all of the things either. So what's most important is, 1, you know how to Google and you know how to do your research, and 2, you know how to teach yourself, because there's not the tutorials that are there for you to learn from. I mean, there's some out there, but you have to be able to try and figure out what resources work best for you. So I know a lot of people complained about the React section of Flatiron's curriculum because they said it's not as well developed as Ruby. Well, yeah, you're spending most of the time with Ruby and a lot less of the time with JavaScript, but in a way, it helps you to transition into the job market a little bit better, because you have to go and find outside resources. At least for me, like I did the labs and like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Like I have a general idea of the concepts, but that was good for me to learn, like, hey, you have to be able to go out there and you have to be able to learn the stuff on your own. And I mean, even senior devs are learning new things all the time, right? And they have to teach themselves. So really what instead of thinking like, am I learning all the coding things that I need to know? Like, do I need to know hooks or whatever? Think like, am I learning how to learn? Because that's going to be the most important thing for when you come out. And I think like, just rely on knowing that you will know how to learn when you're done. Just have a little bit of confidence and build your network up as you go.
Yeah, all good words of advice. And I second what you say about the confidence bit. That is a huge area of growth. I'm just like, I'll never make this. And you can't think like that. That doesn't do anything for you. So that resonates with me.
Yeah, I think every week for the first 6 months of my job, I told my husband I was going to get fired that week. I'm like, is that I'm going to get fired? Like, oh, my boss said he wants to talk to me. I know what that means. Like, and he's never said anything negative to me in my entire time there. He's always so positive and such a great mentor. And yet here I am, like, just my own personal thing is, well, that's it. Like, someone's finally going to recognize that they made a mistake, right? But not happened yet. So.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah, so I think those feelings are natural. And I spoke to a woman who graduated boot camp, and she was in her second year of full-time work, I think. And I asked her, how long did it take you to feel like you knew what you were doing? And for her, it was about like the 8-month to a year mark. So I felt like, okay, well, I'm in good company here. And I know some people are like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, your boot camp should prepare you for that. But I don't know that a boot camp can really prepare you for that emotional journey, right? Like, it's not therapy.
Can I just follow up on the Flatiron as well? Maybe it's for you too, Anna. I feel like I've been like getting super close, and then I get distracted or issues come up that I just don't quite nail it. But so I was at Codeland this summer, and which was amazing, and spoke to Flatiron at length because they had the coffee bar, but also they had some great people, just talking about the program. And I honestly was so close to doing it, but then I'm so intimidated by the time commitment. And I feel like there's no way I couldn't probably make the time, but how did you get around that? Because I feel like it's almost like a 5-hour day. At least that's the impression that I got, to be able to finish it. I was looking at like self-paced online. I'm outside of New York City, but there's no way I could get into the city every day. But I don't know what your experience has been. And like, I know you have to be really focused and disciplined and all that, but that 5 hours a day just totally intimidates me. Even though I have it, I never have 5 hours to sit at my desk. So, or in the evenings, like I'm just I can't do the evenings. Like,
yeah, my brain stops working after like 4:30.
Oh, exactly. 4 o'clock. I'm done. The kids are here. I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, so I did the self-paced online program as well. And when I started, I think I was starting with 2 hours every day. And then I got into a cohort, and the cohort was one of the best things that happened to me. So it was in beta cohort at the time. They didn't have cohorts. But what I learned from the cohort is that I could push myself much harder than I thought that I could push myself. And it just took that one-on-one mentoring to show me, like, you can do this. And so I think, having a mentor or someone that can kind of walk through things is invaluable in the process. But then I built my time up to about 4 hours every day. And then some days, if I had a full day to work on it, I would. So like my husband went out of town, I think every single one of my projects was due. And so,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
He's a developer. I'm like, this will be great. Like, I can ask him questions. I mean, I was able to ask him some, but my parents would take the kids overnight, and they said, okay, work on it tonight and work on it tomorrow. And that's what I would do. But so like for me, budgeting time, I kind of just grew into it because it is a change in how you are doing your life, because you're not used to I really thought there's no way that I could put that amount of time into it. And then I was surprised at how much time I was able to find. I'm still not really sure how I found that time. Yeah. I think maybe the day just like grew into 28 hours instead of 24, and everyone accepted that. But I would wake up at 4:30, and I would code from about 4:30 to 6:30 before school. But I will say I'm a morning person, and I go to bed at 9:30 at night. So it's not like I'm not getting enough sleep, because I don't ever.
I'm the same. Yeah. I mean, in bed at 9:30, and I was doing that for a while, but just getting the kids up and all that. It was like 45 minutes of solid coding. I loved getting into it. And then I'd be like, get so mad that I had to go get the kids up and make breakfast. I would just get like, it's just a distraction.
Honestly, that's one of the hardest things. So I work remotely from home, and one of the hardest things is when I'm just so close to solving what I'm doing, and then suddenly I have to stop because it's time to pick up the kids or it's time to do something else. But I think it's like good practice in self-control, because I'm like, okay, I have to pause this. I'm going to take some notes about what I think possible solutions are, and then I'll get back to this when I'm able to. And just kind of like letting go of that idea that I can accomplish this all right now, or I have to accomplish this during this time period. Because also, I really love a schedule, but we all know, like, you have kids, your schedule, someone's going to puke or, you know, need to go to the dentist. So like my 4:30 to 6:30, that was pretty consistent. And then when my daughter was napping, now she goes to school for a couple of hours in the morning, that would be coding time for me.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, if you can break it up into chunks, that makes it seem more doable. I mean, sometimes my chunks are a half an hour, which seems frustrating because you just start to get into it. But if you can get into it enough to make a plan for what you're going to do next, then it's still valuable coding time. So I think like taking in inventory of what your expectations are for yourself, what time you have to spend, and what support you have. Somebody just recently was saying, like, have moms take an inventory of all of that stuff. And I thought that was such good advice, because then that can help you to shape what your expectations are. And, you know, I finished it in 11 months. Some people have finished it in 5 months. Some people have finished it in 2.5 years. And so I think that, you know, it's fine to say, I'm going to finish this when I am able to, because, you know, you have a lot on your plate with everything else. And then just realizing that, you know, that's okay. And that's a valid option too.
One other quick question. I know you went to the Flatiron, like, I'm not sure if it was relatively soon in your coding journey, but how did you deal with distraction of like needing to learn all the things? Because I feel like I am constantly, oh yes, I'm like nail JavaScript, and then I'm going to do React, and then I'll be like, oh, but WordPress is easy and it's right now, and I can just, you know, get a business up and running.
Right. Yeah.
Or I have an app. I have a great idea for an app. I should do, you know, like Swift or whatever. Like, how did you keep with that before Flatiron? Like, how did you just like stop the madness of like flipping around from different?
I think it's really hard, especially, and that's one of the reasons why I liked Flatiron so much, because they told you, like, this is what you have to learn. And I kind of needed that, because you almost need tunnel vision to an extent, because there are all these beautiful and fun things that are out there. You cannot possibly do all of those things. You have to be quiet though. Like, design seems awesome, and I'd love to be good at design. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try Python. And so, what do you want to tell her?
Do you like strawberries?
She wants to know if you like strawberries.
Yes, very much.
See, people like strawberries. There's strawberries in the fridge. You want to go get them?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that just staying focused, and it's really hard too, because you kind of want to go with what you're interested in, but it's also really hard to figure out what you're interested in so early on. So I say, find the programming language for you and that you're going to commit to, and say, this is what I'm going to do for the next 5 months, and just do that. Because what you'll find is once you learn one language pretty well, then it'll be easier to learn the other languages. And by the time you've spent that 5 months, I think that you'll have a better idea of maybe what you're interested in, and what you want to go into. So I say, like, you know, commit. JavaScript it's a pretty solid choice, because there are a lot of JavaScript jobs out there. There's tons of tutorials. It's difficult. I hated JavaScript when I did it, but now, like, I'm using JavaScript and React every day, and I love it. It was a difficult transition, but it was doable, and now I feel like, I know what I'm doing if I were to be trying to work on something else.
Yeah. Cool.
And I think, the same thing, I see a lot of graduates come out and they think like, okay, well, I learned Ruby and JavaScript. Now I need to learn Python, and I need to learn Vue, and I need to learn, whatever else. And I think it's a mistake, because when you graduate, the employers aren't looking to know if you have a shallow understanding of six different languages. They would rather you have, at least most employers that I've talked to, a solid understanding of one language, maybe two, like a front end and a back end. But I think that you're better off just focusing on understanding one thing really well.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
And Sonia, I was going to say, and we can chat more later also, but my experience with Flatiron and the reason that I went this route is because I was making a career change from something very unrelated, non-tech related, and I wanted to get into coding because I had the interest and the passion for it based off of what I dabbled in and what I'd seen other people do. But I knew, I had tried to do it on my own, I'll just, do it for an hour every day. That never happened. Everything else happened. So what Flatiron is doing for me, it's forcing me to commit to this thing. And Flatiron, I know there's tons of other options, but it's well reputed. I live kind of like you, outside of New York City, but I'm doing the online program, so there's no commute. I do have a community. I'm in the full-time program, so this is what I'm doing for the next 5 months, until April when I graduate. Knock on wood, fingers crossed, all the good things.
You will. Yes, you will.
But that, and having to commit to it, I do. I spend all day doing it. I have a son who's 3, so he goes to school, so I'm with him and doing stuff with him before and after school. But that big chunk of my day in the middle, it's all Flatiron. And that's what I needed. I needed someone to be like, here are deadlines, here's your schedule, we're grading you. And then I did it, and it's hard. It's not a cakewalk, because I'm so much new, but I love it. And like Becca said, it's been a great experience, a full great experience. The community, the curriculum, of course there are going to be things that I won't be taught, but like Becca said, I'm learning how to learn. And that's what everyone who's gotten a job has said. No one's going to expect you to graduate from a boot camp and be a senior developer, but I think graduating with Flatiron or a school behind your name, it gives you something. That's 2 cents.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and I would say, some people I think are motivated enough to go through and not have a boot camp or a school. And I had started with Free Code Camp, but I just love having the community and knowing that I can ask a question to somebody when I needed it. And so I think that, if people go that route, which is, definitely valid. My husband did Free Code Camp, and that's how he learned, because he has a business degree. But if you have a mentor or someone that can answer your questions, that's a really great place to be as well. I'm getting crazy light on my face. Sorry. All right, that was better.
I did have a question, Becca. I'm also going through the Flatiron's online program.
Yeah, you're almost done, right? Or you're done?
I'm done with the curriculum. I'm done with the 4 projects. I'm working on the React project, and I'm in the career services. But I haven't talked to my career coach yet. They still haven't contacted me yet, because I just finished a JavaScript project last week. So I was wondering, you said you got a job even before you had even gotten to the technical interview for the how did that happen?
Okay, I'm going to answer that in 1 minute, but my 3-year-old has not come back yet, so let me just check on her.
Wow, I didn't know that you were in Flatiron too. That's so cool, Donna.
Yeah, I know. It's we're all Flatiron people here, except
I'm a Flatiron wannabe. I seriously, I'm
I think you should, because I did Free Code Camp before that, and I actually finished it, but it was a little more it wasn't as like focused. It kind of went all over the place, and there wasn't as good of support. So Flatiron was a lot, like, for us to just pay out of pocket for it, but I haven't even got a job yet, and I feel like it's worth it.
But my problem is I'm old compared to you guys.
You can stop right there. That's not.
I think it's one of the things that like does definitely stop me is like, oh my God, like I've had this career. I've been at home with my kids for almost 10 years. And it's like, yeah, I in my head, I'm like, I totally believe I can do it. But then I'm like, hiring managers and like just going through all of that and then paying for whatever I'd pay for. It's like, it's still a chunk of change, but it's like, who's going to hire me? Like,
No,
that's so not true though.
Teenager, I'm going to have a hard time getting hired.
You know,
and I hate that. I hate even talking about it, but it is so one of the reasons that like keeps me from doing it.
No, I think you totally should try it. I mean, have you done free code camp or anything?
I have. Oh yeah, I'm not going to tell you my story because it's a long, like crazy stop start over the last 4 years with lots of twists and turns, but like, I'm not giving up. Like I'm still here and I'm just trying to wait for the right thing or figure out the right thing to do. So.
Free Code Camp had a list of devs. Oh gosh, what was it? Devs over certain ages. So they were like categorizing just to show. And I think that there is at least a podcast episode about that. Like, you know, people who have done it later in career or as a second job or even after retirement. I think that, you know, there are still people out there that are willing to hire you, especially now more than ever, since that's something that a lot of companies are working towards. So I was looking at, I'm trying to think of what, it was either Postlight or Mode, their hiring and values seemed really on par for being open to a diverse group of people.
And they're like, I want to be like, I'll be your token female over 40 tag or higher, you know, like, I'm just, yeah.
I know somebody who was recently hired at a bigger place, and he just learned at 39 too. So he's starting at a very junior level. And I think that, you know, there's definitely opportunities out there. But I would say this kind of touches on what Donna was asking. Like, networking is huge. So if you know somebody, and like, so the way that I found my job, I kind of documented my entire journey into coding on Twitter, on my blog.
You were really good at that.
It kept me accountable. And then I felt like I wasn't so lonely. So like for a long time I had been lonely, like not as a coder, but like as a mom or in my job after I went through trauma. I just felt like, you know, I didn't have a community. And so once people started like making me feel like a part of the community, then I just continued to, you know, document it, because if it helps one person or one person is cheering me on, then that's better than no people, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is kind of how I got my job, because I had that presence on there. I tweeted that I was, by the way, she was in the kitchen and she poured an entire bag of mini chocolate chips and almonds into a bowl, and that's what she was doing.
That is the perfect snack. So
So I like posted the tweet saying that I was looking for a job. This is what my experience is. I had my portfolio up. It had links to my projects on GitHub, and I had all of the walkthroughs on there.
Now, and when did you start building your portfolio? Because I'm having a hard time finding time to do that with these Flatiron projects.
I had already built my blog using Jekyll from the beginning. And so I thought, well, I'll just kind of redesign this. I'm not a designer. Like, I'm just not that great at that. But I did my best. And I added a portfolio page. And then getting apps done, Joshua Graham is, I don't know what you're saying. Sorry. He took a look at what I had put together and gave me some feedback. And I think Christina Gorton also gave me some feedback. If I am missing anybody that gave me feedback, I am so sorry. But so I just added that page, and it just kind of, I can't remember if it broke it down by projects or just maybe there's a short description, title of project, what the technology is used, and a short description. So I would say, you know, where are you blogging, Donna?
Right now I'm blogging on dev.to.
Okay.
So it's not actually my blog, but
Yeah. So Jekyll was super easy to put together, but if I'm working with Gatsby now, I'm trying to learn it. And so I'm planning on moving my portfolio over to Gatsby for some practice, and I'm building a site for my memoir in Gatsby. But
yeah, I had planned on doing 100 days of Gatsby, and I just have not been able to get to it.
Well, there's a couple of tutorials, and I think that if you put in an hour every day for like a week or two, and I know that's asking a lot because you got a lot on your plate right now, but I think that you could have a blog up and running, or just a single page with your portfolio. I mean, not to say you couldn't use WordPress. I just personally do not like WordPress, and I
don't like WordPress.
Don't ever want to touch it ever again.
I can't do WordPress. I tried, and it looks sad.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I just found, I don't know if it was a theme I bought or whatever, was not user friendly, but oh, she's taking your picture. So I would say that, you know, marketing yourself and letting people know ahead of time, like now, what you're going to be looking for. So for me, it was really important that I was remote and flexible and part-time. So those are 3 really big asks because there's not that many jobs, but I had posted a couple of times about this is what I'm going to be looking for. And so then I was getting messages from people like, okay, hey, I found this job for you if you're interested, or you might like this. And then my current boss saw my tweet, and I think he checked out my portfolio, and he basically was like, hey, I think that you would be a good fit. And so he, like, I'm the first person to work under him. So he's like my boss and my mentor, and has been really great at it, but we're also both kind of like learning how to do this together. And so anyway, I think like the point is like I found a good fit because I was able to do that networking. And I don't go anywhere. I've been to a couple of conferences, but it's not like I'm going to meetups. The closest meetup is an hour away at night, and that's
the closest one for me, I live like Southwest Georgia, so the closest one for me is Atlanta. That's like 3 hours from here.
Yeah, so also not doing
it. I'm going to be able to make it.
Yeah, and John, I think that you have a great presence online. You know, a lot of people know who you are. You're really well liked online, and that definitely is going to work in your favor. So however you network, I am not as good at networking face to face because I'm like super shy and awkward and an introvert. So like,
I think I have the opposite problem. I'm fine talking to people like live, but when I try to tweet or write anything online, there's like this fear that, oh my God, that sounds stupid. Oh, I'm going to offend somebody. Oh my God, that's just like, I have no voice online.
If you're on Twitter for a while, that will all go away because there's so many other stupid tweets out there.
Right? But I have to get better at it this year because, I mean, like I said, I can do the networking in person, no problem. But I don't have opportunity for that. I can't go to meetups at night either. Like, I'm here. So my only outlet has to be to develop sort of an online voice, and I'm struggling with that. So any pointers that would be.
Well, I mean, other ways to do that are through blogs. Like if you like to write, then short blogs is a way to go. And then you just tweet about your blogs. Or like my husband live streams for Free Code Camp. He got his job essentially because he had been live streaming. And a lot of people knew and liked his show. And so when he posted that he was looking for a new job, he had a ton of messages because there were people that were willing to help him. So I know like some people live stream what they're coding, and it doesn't have to be super in-depth or complex, or you can just do short tutorial videos. So I would say like, think about what you're comfortable doing. And I know that there are more online meetups. I know that Tracy from this.media,
Tracy Reed, right?
Yeah, she is doing an online meetup soon. I hope I didn't miss it.
The 22nd, I think.
Yeah, it's the 22nd.
Yeah.
That's a mentoring meeting, and I think that would be great for you to maybe check out that online. Okay. Okay, yeah. All right.
So is that something that's in this, like our Moms in Tech Slack, or is that somewhere else?
That was on Twitter. I'll have to see
Twitter. Okay.
if I can find that somewhere. I don't have a pen. Normally I have a pen next to me. And then somebody posted it in the Moms and Tech Slack.
Okay. I can find it.
Her Twitter handle is @LadyLeet, LEET.
Yeah.
So if you just look her up and go to her page, I think it's on there.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, I think it would be great to do more online meetups. I think the problem with that is how to coordinate that, and also with obviously I had some video issues at the beginning here, right? So I don't know what that would look like. But I don't know, maybe it's something to think about.
Well, we've done it once now, so hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody else have questions?
I have one more question, and this is probably just because I'm really needing a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
How long did it take you for your career coach to get in touch with you?
So they changed things right after I got my career coach, so it's a little bit different. But she got in touch with me pretty quickly, even sooner than I felt that I was ready for. But I would say maybe try and get in touch with them again, send an email and just say, look, I'm really ready to get this moving. I've got deadlines that I have to meet. But I loved working with the career coach. I thought that it was really valuable and just kind of helped me to define who I was in this new world of coding. I was not going out as Becca the adjunct anymore. I was Becca the coder, and that was really a difficult thing for me to kind of grasp. She was super helpful for that, and she was really great at reading who I am and what my abilities were. So I would say, yeah, get in touch with them, get started on your stuff. And what are you looking for, Donna?
Well, I prefer remote. I would like it to be flexible. That would be my preference, because I have 4 kids and my husband's at home now, but he was a trucker. So I don't think he's going to go back on the road. We've kind of decided that wasn't the best thing for us, but I just think that remote with flexible would be good. I prefer front end just because I'm more visually oriented. I really like being able to see what I've done. But it could be either one. I'm not really too picky about what my first job is going to be,
Right.
Just because I need one. But
I think Zapier, I know a couple people that work there and they love it. And it seems like they have really great support for junior dev. I also have a list somewhere of remote jobs.
Zapier?
Yeah, Zapier.
Okay.
But if you're interested in something there, let me know, and then I can connect you to one of the people I know.
Okay.
So, and I can send out that list of remote jobs too. I know one of the other questions that I had was, how did you begin your journey as a full stack web developer, and when you wish to be self-employed or a freelancer? And I would say so for me, I'm freelancing, but I'm working for one company. And those are all my hours. So I was really fortunate to get that. So one of the reasons why I didn't want to be a freelancer and I would have rather worked at, I was afraid that I wasn't going to get mentorship as a freelancer. So I think if you're defining what your work is, one of the things that I think is most important when you're coming out of boot camp or out of your coding journey is to make sure that you have someone there who's willing to answer your questions and kind of guide you through things, because that's going to ease that transition. So
I guess I'm not as worried about that, because I've gotten as much help on Twitter as I have at Flatiron. So there's people that are just let me help you. I'm whoa, okay.
Well, and I think one of the things that was really difficult for me was diving into this huge code base, because we never had to do that, right? You're building your own project.
Yeah.
You're starting with a blank screen and then you're moving
Yeah,
forward.
I'm kind of worried about that.
But this was I had never seen anything so big, and I'm I don't know, you know, like, so now, like, through a variety of projects, I've gotten a better understanding of like what I'm looking at, where I'm supposed to look, how to track these things down. And, you know, Avi gave me some advice, Flombaum, the co-founder and, I don't know, dean or something at Flatiron, after I graduated. And he said, work on open source projects while you're looking for a job, because that will help prepare you for what you're doing next. And I never had that opportunity because I got a job so quickly, but I would say that's great advice for anybody who's looking to make the transition, because you're not used to looking at this code base with all of these different files, or coming in and somebody saying like, okay, now work on this project. And it's not your own project. You have to get an idea and understanding of what other people are doing. And that's a really good way to do that.
Doesn't that show up on your GitHub when you've done that?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
So that also can be helpful.
That makes sense. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
I don't think so. It was great to finally meet you, though.
Yeah, I know, you too.
It's like pretty cool actually meeting you.
I know, seeing faces of people that I have seen before online. So, well, if you have questions or you need advice, please feel free to to reach out. I'm losing my mind here.
It's almost 4. It's getting close to 4 o'clock.
Getting
I don't
close.
know what y'all are talking about, though. I'm a night owl, so 4:30 my brain turns on. It doesn't turn off till 12:30. So.
Oh no, I can't. I've never been that way. But I think like that's another important thing. Like work when your brain works.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
I have to be morning people though, because I cannot get up in the morning. It's so hard.
Well, that's my husband is a night owl too, and I remember like when we first got married, I was getting up early and he was staying up late and then sleeping in. I'm like, what is this? Like, how do people do that?
Oh, I have a quick question. It's not really about getting into tech, but I've got this feeling, I just kind of been hearing from the universe little bits and pieces about how Ruby just isn't as popular, or it's not as strong, or it's not as like as it used to be, or is it having like a decline? But obviously Flatiron's still doing Ruby and JavaScript, it's fine. But I don't know if you've seen anything now that you're out there, like what they're talking about or what's being said.
You know, I hear a variety of people say that as well. And I would say maybe there are some more popular things, but there's still a ton of jobs out there for Ruby. And I think like, you know, if you learn Ruby and you know it well, then you're not going to have a problem transitioning into whatever backend language they're going to be using next. So I still think it's a solid choice because Ruby is it's such a gentle language to learn.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You know,
yeah.
It just feels like loving. I don't know. JavaScript is not loving.
It's organized. It's very organized.
Mm.
And actually, I posted on, or rather tweeted an article a while back on these top 10 companies that use Ruby, and they're like, really, they're not going anywhere. Twitter's one, GitHub. There were a couple others that were just like really big. And I was like, I think Ruby's a solid choice because even if it's not as popular as it used to be, those companies are still going to be using Ruby to maintain their platform. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's like perfect timing because my timer just went off, which means we're about to get cut off anyway. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Becca.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I'll probably post this on YouTube if that's okay. But if it's not, okay, just let me know and I can privately share it with the people who ask for it. But
yeah, I think YouTube would be good because I think that'd be good for other people to hear your experience. I mean, it's really helped me to see that you're, a little further ahead than I am, and you're still treading water because sometimes I feel like I could be able to make it.
Great, I know. And like I said, it took me a really long time. And there are still days where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I went through this problem. I could not figure it out. I don't even want to admit how long I spent on it. And so you set a timer? So I asked my boss, and then he pointed out like one very simple thing that I missed, right? And I'm like, I should have known that. But like
It's
the more
always
you
a
do
simple
it,
thing.
the easier it becomes. So like now I remember, like, okay, if that happens, this is what I'm gonna look for first, because I just skipped ahead to something that was more complex, and it wasn't, or like a typo, you know? So yeah, and it is nice to have people ahead of you to look toward, like, oh look, they're graduating, they did this, I can do this too. I don't know, that works for me anyway.
Yes, that's a big help.
Okay, well, thank you all. If you
you.
need anything else, or maybe we can do some kind of online meetup, figure that out. That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah.
Again.
All right, have a good day.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.